Hello, my name is Cynthia Baerg, and this is my case study titled A New Role for the Parents Organization for my Forte State University course, EDL 856. In this case study, I am the principal of a school who is meeting with the president of a parent group, which has chosen to become independent instead of a part of the PTA. In this meeting, the parent group communicated they would want to do changes to a lot of the school events, and they want parents to be equal partners in all the decisions regarding policies and procedures. As the principal, I'm hesitant for this level of involvement, and I also feel like I'm being excluded because the way they're presenting information is as though it's already been decided. When assessing the legal and ethical issues of this case study, I've come to these following conclusions. So far, there's been no laws broken, no breach of contract, and no actions could be viewed as discriminatory or harassment. There's been no harm done or ethical issues as of yet. However, I do need to be sure that however I proceed ethically and legally in order to not make the situation worse. So to sum up the case study, as the principal, I need to determine how to move forward with working with this new parent organization in a way that cultivates relationships and helps them feel engaged, but also continues to give my staff and me control of our areas of expertise in order to benefit the school improvement process and increase student development. So I need to evaluate all of the facts. The people involved include myself, the principal, the parent group president, who is a young attorney, the parent group board and all of their members, the school staff, school board, and superintendent will also be influenced by how this situation turns out, other parents that are not in this parent group, and community members as a whole. The place and program, if we look at that, I've been given no information in this case study about the type of school or community. I don't know what grade levels I represent as a principal, the demographics of the student, or even the location of the school. Upon reviewing the facts, I have reached the following conclusions. This conflict could disengage parents and the community as a whole. The teachers might feel unheard and unvalued, depending on how I handle the situation. The superintendent might need to be consulted. I could meet with the entire board of the parent group to get more information. The parent group might feel too much power and feel like they get to decide too many things, depending on how I handle the situation. And I do feel I have enough information to act. Therefore, I've arrived at these possible options for how I can proceed. I could take no option and just give the parent group the control and what they're wanting. I could just refuse to work with the parent group completely. I could create a BLT, a building leadership team, that includes the group members, teachers, and administrators. I could create a task force, which would be a shorter term commitment that includes group members, teachers, and administrators. I could also just go to the superintendent and have him decide how I should proceed. So I'm going to analyze the pros and cons of the first option, which is taking no action and giving the parent group the control they want. The pros of this option is it would engage the parents, there would be no cost, there would be new ideas to improve the school, I wouldn't have upset parents, and it would cultivate relationships with some diverse community members. The cons are it does not include teachers in the process. It's not very collaborative with all of the stakeholders. It doesn't utilize the experience of my staff. It doesn't involve other constituents. I would lose control, and we would lose the traditions and norms that our school currently has. Next, I'm going to analyze the pros and cons of the second option of refusing to work with the parent group. It would be easy. There would also be no cost. I would maintain all my control. My staff would not feel undermined, and we can just continue with the traditions and norms of our school. The cons are this does not engage the parents. It limits new ideas to improve the school. I would definitely have upset parents. It doesn't cultivate relationships, and there would be friction between the school and the community if I did this option. Then I must analyze the pros and cons of the third option of creating a building leadership team, which includes parent group members, teachers, and administrators. The pros is this is more collaborative engagement, and it cultivates relationships with even more diverse partners. There'd be many perspectives for school improvement. It would give all parties a voice, and it does include staff input. The cons are I would need to find community volunteers and teacher volunteers. It's a long-term time commitment for me and all of the volunteers. And the parent group might not be happy because they might not feel they have enough control in this option. Fourthly, I must analyze the pros and cons of creating a task force made up of parent group members, teachers, and administrators as well. The pros are very similar to the last one. It would still have collaborative engagement, still cultivate relationships with diverse partners. There'd still be many perspectives for school improvement. It would give all parties a voice and include staff input as well. The other pro is this would be a shorter time commitment on myself and the volunteers. The cons are similar to the last one as well. There would be community volunteers and teacher volunteers we'd need to find. It would also not be a long-term solution. It would just be a short-term solution. And still the parent group might not feel enough control. Lastly, I must analyze the pros and cons of the final option and have the superintendent decide what to do. The pros are it'd be very little work for me. The parents wouldn't be upset at me because I would have no responsibility or consequences as it wouldn't be my choice. The cons, this would show a total lack of leadership. There's no attempt to collaborate. And this could lead to my removal as a principal, as it would show that I'm not willing to do my job and take responsibility. After analyzing all the choices, I choose to create a building leadership team, which includes parent group members, teachers, and administrators. This cultivates relationships among diverse stakeholders. It's a long-term solution for collaborative engagement. It includes the most stakeholders. There'd be diverse input on school improvement and student development, and it creates a culture of collaboration because it is long-term commitment. So to sum it up, by implementing this plan, I will be collaboratively engaging and cultivating relationships with diverse community members, partners, and other constituents for the benefit of school improvement and student development. So now that I've decided on my option that I'm going to do, my next steps are as follows. I would first talk with the superintendent to make sure that our group is aligning with the district plan of improvement if we're on one, or just the goals of the district as a whole. I would tell the president of the parent group what the plan is and ask him to recruit members that would be interested in volunteering to be on this building leadership team. I would then personally recruit members from these categories. I would have general and special education teachers and make sure that all grade levels are represented. I would want a school psychologist or someone from the pupil services. Depending on what grade level I'm actually a principal for, I would maybe want students on that. If I'm in elementary, I would not include students, but if I'm in middle or high school, for sure, I would want students on the building leadership team. And then I would also reach out to other community members to make sure all stakeholders are represented. Community members that aren't on this team, the parent group, maybe they'd be business owners or other leaders in the community. I would set a date and location for our first meeting, and at that first meeting, we would together create what our goals are and the norms and make sure those are aligned to the district goals, and create a meeting schedule and location. So as a group, we decide how often and where we should meet. We would need to follow through and have open dialogue, and I'd make sure that we are sticking to those goals and norms periodically, make sure we're aligned to those goals and norms, and just have that open dialogue for all groups to communicate with me if there's things that we need to change in our goals and norms on the building leadership team. Once I decided that I was going to do a building leadership team, I did some research on the best ways to create one, and these are the references of those resources that I used. Thank you so much for listening to my case